who better than me?
Greetings and salutations, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy Bass the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, share the content out. I truly appreciate it. Now, quick apology, I was meant to do some footage while I was up in Nottingham for the Wood Conlan card. Unfortunately, the data connections weren't really, they weren't transmitting as live as they should have. So to be honest, anything I did film, you probably wouldn't be seeing it until about right now anyway. So yeah, couple episodes I was meant to put out, including obviously a basis picks, but I'll talk about all of that in a little while. But for now, there's a couple things outside of the actual event I also need to touch on. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I guess the first place for me to start today will be the fact that the BBBOC had an investigation into the Taylor Catterall fight from a couple weeks back, and within that they decided to demote Ian John Lewison, or is it Ian John Lewis? Yeah, Ian John Lewis, sorry. They decided to demote him down from an A-star referee to an A-class referee, which I think means that he can't now referee championship matches for a period of time. I'd have to actually check what all those ratings mean. I mean, to be totally honest, I think that, was it Victor Loughlin was the other person who scored it for Taylor? I think he should also be put up in front of the board to explain his scorecard. But it's a token gesture. I mean, within the column that they wrote, the statement, they did put out and say that they were going to be speaking with the WBA, the WBC, the IBF and the WBO about getting Catterall to be the mandatory for one or all of the belts. Now, I guess if they were able to do it in such a way whereby the sanctioning bodies collectively choose one person who also gets the right to then fight for all of those titles as well, then okay. But realistically, that's not going to happen. So again, it's a bit of an empty gesture. It doesn't really make much sense. However, as a token gesture, I guess it shows that maybe they will investigate themselves moving forward. Although, let's be honest, that's not really gonna happen. But yeah, Ian John Lewison gets demoted down. To be honest, I feel like it should have happened a long time ago, and it probably needed to go a couple more levels below whatever they've just dropped him to, if I'm being honest. But that's that one for now. I'm going to keep an eye on that story, see if anything else develops from that moving forward, and I'll be sure to give my thoughts on it. But yeah, let me move on to the next thing quickly. Now, I'm not sure if I spoke about this before, but Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua are looking at the option of doing possible interim fight before the Usyk fight if Usyk's not able to meet the deadline for sort of the end of May, early June. Now, to be totally honest, I don't think he will, because I really don't think he's going to be in the Ukraine, training for a fight when bombs are dropping at, bases and bunkers and whatnot. So I don't really see that taking place, unless I guess there's a special barracks that they just move him to and get all of his training and bring his partners over there. But even sparring, who's going into that territory to go and spar? So realistically, I say no, that ain't happening, which means the interim fight does seem to be likely at this stage. There will probably be a force majeure clause in the contract, and I guess this definitely does fall under that category. So we'll see. But AJ saying that, or Eddie Hearn at least, is saying that his number one pick is Deontay Wilder. Now, while that's a fight we've wanted to see for years, it's a dead fight right now because there's absolutely nothing on the line for either person, and it's both guys coming off of losses, one of them in fact being back-to-back. Does it really generate the money that someone like AJ would want at this point? I mean, the only way I could see it happening is if they literally, taglined it the end of the road, or career versus career on some WWE type shit. Like, that's the only way I could see that fight making any type of sort of headway, because it's a big fight, but it's not a big fight right now, if you catch my drift. But I feel like if you're gonna have an interim fight, Luis Ortiz, Otto Wallin, like those are the sort of guys you want, or any other southpaws. Even someone like Jerry Forrest might be a decent shout. He's another southpaw. He's decent, got decent movement. He's pretty tough. He seems to have had a little renaissance recently, so no one's just looking at him as a journeyman. He's definitely a lot better than that. Gave Michael Hunter hell the other day. Gave Zhilei Zhang hell for 4 rounds after getting dropped 3 times in 3 rounds. So those to me could be like viable options. Maybe even Zhilei Zhang. Take him out of the Hrgovic fight and let Joshua fight him in his interim fight. Get the whole of China involved. That could also be a decent move. Either way, I think it should only be southpaws we're looking at for interim fights, because there's no point fighting someone who doesn't fight anything like the person who you're trying to take the belts off of. But that's my opinion. I mean, anyone else, feel free to leave your comments down below. But yeah, if it was me, I would say Luis Ortiz, Otto Wallin, Jerry Forrest, and Zhilei Zhang. Those would probably be like my picks to to sort of AJ to have an interim fight with at this stage. But if it's Wilder or Ruiz or anything like that, if those can even be made, then I'll watch it. It'll be interesting. Even Joe Joyce, but that's something maybe we'll talk about another time. I don't really want to get into that right now. So now let's talk about the event from last night up there in Nottingham. It was eventful. I would definitely give it that. The card it didn't turn out as great as I was expecting, although admittedly I didn't see the Cully versus Vasquez fight, as I was in transit going to the arena when that one was taking place. And by the time I literally got inside the venue, it had just finished and I found that it was a knockout. So I need to watch that one back and sort of give my take on that at a later date. But to be fair, that wasn't one of the fights that I wanted to talk about, so it's okay if I disregard it for now. Let's talk about Sandy Ryan versus Erica Farias. Now, when the fight first got signed, I said, "Ooh, this is a good fight. Like, it's a very dangerous fight. Like, why would someone take this on, sort of like their 4th professional fight?" The one thing that I always said was that I felt Erica is a lot more, I wouldn't say skilled, but she's a lot more crafty and obviously a lot more experienced than Sandy Ryan in the pro games. But I thought that Erica would basically start very fast, like sort of give Sandy a lot of problems, but Sandy could potentially like just wear her down with size afterwards and possibly, maybe just win a battle of attrition over the long run. But I did predict that if Sandy won outside of a knockout, it would be due to maybe some favorable scoring. That was something that I had said previously, but I did actually pick Farias to sort of win that fight initially. And the closer it got to the fight, the more, just the way I saw her in the previews and even in the weigh-in, and how she was very smiley, very confident, I just thought, oh, it's almost like she knows something no one else does. So I did kind of have her, in terms of my prediction, as someone that I expected to win. And I mean, the fight delivered. Sandy's clearly learned. She's gonna have learned a lot from that fight compared to others. She's never had her nose bloodied like that before. She took a lot of shots. One thing I found, she does sort of, as good as she seems to be during her sparring videos, crouching down low, sort of, like a pendulum moving in and out. She seems very upright when she's actually boxing, and it's almost like she digs her toes into the ground to let off her shots, which can leave her immobile. So for someone who's smaller and quicker, can kind of get around the target, at times it just causes her all kinds of problems. And that's basically what Erica did the whole fight. She just basically out hustled her, out hurried her, threw bigger combinations, and then tied up when she, you know, when she was in any sort of real danger, kept her elbows in close so Sandy couldn't really dig the body shots as much as she normally would like. It was just a very sort of, yeah, I would say a very commanding performance. I don't want to say dominant, but it was very commanding, and she did end up being the deserved winner. The judge that scored the fight 97-93 to Sandy Rand made absolutely no sense to me, because watching that fight, there was never a time where there were 7 rounds you could give Sandy. Going into the 10th, I said at this point it might be about 5-4, but I actually had it 6-3 to Farias at that time, but I said, yeah, it might be about 5-4 if you're being generous. But yeah, I was trying to work out how it was possible to give Sandy Rand 7 rounds. But look, it happened. She'll learn a lot from this. They're saying they want the rematch. I knew that she came in at 144 pounds, but I didn't realize that the limit, I think, was like 142 for the fight. I just thought, you know, you can kind of come in as long as you're below sort of the 147 limit, because, you know, sometimes they always come a couple pounds over when it's not championship fights. But yeah, I mean, look, congrats to Erica Farias. She showed that even though she's, you know, an aging fighter, she's still got the goods when it matters, and she's only ever lost to who is it? Jessica McCaskill, Cecilia Breakers, Delphine Persoon, and Michaela Meyer. So that's not bad company to have been amongst if Sandy could have got it done. But clearly this was a step too far. Like I said, hopefully she'll learn from it, and yeah, keep it moving. Now, like I said, I didn't see the Cully Vasquez fight, so skip that. I saw Harper versus Abelaneda. It was a decent enough fight, but again, it's not really something I'm going to go into. Like, Terry Harper won on points. She said that she feels more powerful at higher weights, but it didn't look like that power translated in the particular fight. So she's maybe got a bit more work to do there. She's got some time to build though. What is she, 25, 26? Like, there's no reason for her to now jump into, you know, Katie Taylor world title fights or whatever. She can ride out for another year and a half, just honing the skills, trading on that intercontinental belt that she's now got. And, you know, when those belts become fragmented, or maybe a year and a half down the line, challenge for a title then. But yeah, no reason to sort of keep on that one. Kiva Najarko against was it Rubio? If I'm honest, I was a little bit disappointed with Najarko's performance. It was very sort of one-dimensional. There was no setting things up. It was always looking for the big shot. He got tagged quite a lot, same as he did in his last fight. So looking at his style, I can already see that there's a little bit of old school, like David Haye or Roy Jones Jr.-esque type movement. So his whole thing is about his reflexes. So as soon as those go, he's gonna be in problems, and he could even be in problems when he steps up a level from his next fight, because as I said, he's getting hit way too often for someone who's supposed to be as good as he is. But it's, you know, it's no surprise that he was in there with someone 18 fights and only 9 KOs. That goes to show you that maybe he didn't respect the power, which is why he allowed his head to be where it was for so long. But having seen him before, he's done the same thing. So yeah, I don't have the highest of hopes, but look, I hope he can get one of those middleweight titles, so that, you know, so that we can get some decent fights on this side, because I'm sure that he'll fight a Denzel Bentley or you know, a Felix Cash, or even a Chris Eubank Jr. if he decides that he actually wants a title instead of just a big money fight. But who knows? Right, but moving on to the main event, because that's obviously what everyone's talking about. Now, at this point, first things first, the crowd was crazy. I would put footage in here, but the last time I did that, I got a copyright strike because music was playing for that I didn't have the rights to. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably watched the fight already, yeah? Now, the crowd was raucous. Like, the Nottingham heads, I was around some proper skinheads where I was as well, so it was tense. All the Irish fans were on the other side of the arena. They had a little section down on the floor, plus they had like three bays on the other side. Now, I was filming. I started filming about the last 40 seconds of the first round, because I saw how it was going. I was like, okay, cool. Imagine, so I'm filming, it gets to just before the clapper. I'm like, okay, well, this round looks like not much is happening now. They're jockeying for position. I switch off my camera. No sooner did I switch off the camera, bang, Wood, heavy knockdown. My brethren's sitting right next to me. He grabbed my arm, mouth open, like, I was like, I just turned off the camera. Like, I don't get the chance to capture this moment in history anymore. Like, all right, cool. He laughed. I had to laugh. So I said, all right, you know what? Next few rounds, I'm filming everything. So second round, I filmed the entire second round, and Wood looked like he was about to go. Like, this fight was everything at this point. And it just showed his heart and determination, the fact that he was even able to stay on his feet. Like, I thought he was going down again. Like, he held well. Like, he definitely got the clinch game. He's got good survival instincts. I give Leigh Wood that 100%. But then the fight was going on. Third round again, like, Conlan was just same left hand tagging. I'm like, why is this guy just getting hit with the same shot over and over again? He's like, then I remember, well, Ben Davison's in the corner, innit? Like, it seems to be a pattern with a lot of his fighters or people that he is training. They're always getting repeatedly hit with the same shot with no adjustments. But Conlan at this point had clearly, he started to he had unloaded a lot in those first 3 rounds. Fourth round was still a competitive one. This time he was trying to be a lot more economic, so which kind of allowed Wood to kind of get back into it, sort of 5th, 6th, 7th, and it was a case that I didn't think he was winning a lot of those rounds, but he did win some. But the momentum was sort of shifting the other way, because Conlan was just, he was not being active enough. So I thought a lot of these rounds could just, if it comes down to the activity, like Wood is pushing the pace, he's throwing out punches. Yeah, Conlan might be blocking quite a few of them on the gloves, but some are getting through. They are still scoring shots. So it got towards the end, and obviously there was the punch slip that happened in the 11th for Conlan. Now me and both my brethren were like, no, that was a slip. Oh, he got counted. So then I thought, oh, so now this fight could actually be a lot closer than some people think, because at that particular time, right, the end of the 11th, I actually had it 6-5 to Michael Conlan. There was an argument for 7-4, but there was a round I found it hard to split them, so I gave it to Wood just because he was the home fighter and he'd done a bit more activity, whereas Conlan had landed some nicer shots overall, but there just wasn't as much. So I said, okay, 6-5. So if Wood wins this next round, it could legitimately be a draw. I actually saw that, and I said it wouldn't be a robbery either. Like, it would make sense. Oh, but we didn't need that. Whew. No, we didn't need that. Now, next thing you see is they're in the center of the ring trading punches, and then Conlan grapples with Wood, and then Wood manages to push him off and push him towards the ropes. Conlan's on there, slipping and sliding, arm up. All of a sudden he dips down, drops the arm, but gets caught on the temple on the opposite side, and he's literally out on the ropes. We saw him, both me and my friends saw him just out on the ropes, and then all of a sudden he flew back and fell like head first to the ground. And I was like, whoa. Now, bearing in mind, I was recording this, right? And I was recorded up to the 8th round. Now my battery was dying. So I said, okay, I had a charger, I had like a power bank in my pocket. So I put my phone on that to charge. And I said, okay, I'm gonna take a couple of rounds off. Maybe I'll record like the last 2, because at this point, you know, maybe then they'll go hell for leather. So I missed the 10th and the 11th, which were very eventful rounds. And the 12th, like, geez, but battery wasn't charging. I'm like, what's going on? Only to later on find out, when I've gone outside to look for the Uber, to go and do Ubers, like the power bank's actually dead. I don't know how that happened. But back to the boxing. So yeah, that happened. Now, amazingly, obviously Wood and everyone's in the, now calm down, like let's relax. We don't know if this guy is okay, and at this point no one knew. He's got they brought the ambulance service out there, like he got stretchered out. On the opposite side there was a guy, I don't know who he was clearly from the Conlan camp or one of his supporters. He jumped over 2 sets of barricades before security saw him. He jumped over the last one, and then he tried to slide in the ring like he was a WWE wrestler, but he got caught on the bottom rope, so the slide didn't quite make the glide all the way through like he wanted. But he was jumping in the ring to go and attack Leigh Wood, but luckily because he missed the bottom part, one of the security managed to grab his leg to stop his forward momentum, and another one grabbed him from the front, from the inside the ring, and they almost clotheslined him over the top of the ropes back to the floor, and then they escorted him out back up the ramp where all the fighters came down. While this is going on, in the crowd, in the Irish section, there's a big brawl breaking out just behind where Laura Woods and Tony Bellew and Carl Froch were doing the hosting. Literally right behind them, huge brawl, like with a good 30 people in there just scuffing. I was like, wow, this night's getting crazy. So at this point, I said to one of my brethren, one of the other ones was downstairs already. I said, no, you know what? Let's get out of here because it's conclusive. We don't need to hear the announcement. At this point, I was going to go over and talk to October Red, shout out. I was even going to go and chat to Ade, but I said, nah, you know what? It's a bit too raucous at this point, and I haven't got time to be fighting no one tonight. So we headed out, had a good time. But yeah, that fight was eventful. It's probably one of the best fights I've seen live, just from a drama standpoint. A back and forth, like someone pulling it out the bag at the last moment, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, as they say. It almost felt a bit like the very first Carl Froch and George Groves fight. Kind of, like that heavy knockdown at the start, one person is just dominating and the other one just through grit and sheer determination just takes over. Like, that's how it kind of came across. But yeah, I mean, look, that's sort of my take on what I experienced last night. There will likely be a breakdown video coming soon, but I maybe won't tell you where you're gonna see that just yet, but you might see one. But you know what, let me leave this for now, because I only just got back to London. Like, I'm tired, I want to eat, I want to rest. I've got a few things I need to do before work in the morning. Daily grind don't stop. So with that being said, I thank everyone for watching this. Leave your comments, leave the feedback. If you could hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Like I said, share the vids out to colleagues, friends, family, whatever. But for right now, thanks for watching, and Hardcore Casual out.